Good Sunday morning to you. It's Sunday. It's a couple of days later from the end of the last working video. And yeah, I finished up the irrigation. It turns out I was wrong. I'll admit it. The manufacturer of the half circle, that whole situation, the micro sprinklers, turns out that it's basically just one manufacturer, and the bigger box store, um, that was a smaller store. I prefer to sort of support them if I can because they're a smaller company, not the big chain. But the bigger store did have some stuff. Uh, Unfortunately, one of the well, I bought a second one of these quarters, and as I was trying to get the quarter-inch tubing on it, it just kind of snapped. The whole thing snapped. So I ended up putting a different quarter that we happen to have in stock here from some previous effort. So that's got the quarter on that end. You can see I've got a single manifold with a cap in this case. It has a slightly different manifold. That one's intended so you can also have a regular sprinkler head on top of it, or basically just anything that extends on the half-inch pipe. But that basically is a tube running underneath and going to that one. And then over here, I put in the one that's almost buried, and you can see I've got two coming out. So one's going just to the left, and the other one's going clear over here to the right. And so I've managed to get 180s in there, different style, but and it actually came in a 5-pack, and I had to buy the stakes separately. Whatever. It is what it is. But sprinklers went off yesterday, and here's my new meter that I have, which will tell me moisture, light, and pH. Light, I'm not so much worried about right now. I know we're going to get full blazing sun by summertime. But it went off yesterday, and I wanted to check again this morning for moisture. So I'm going to poke it down just a little bit. And we can look at that, and you can see it's a little dry on the top. If I push it down a little further, the moisture gets a little bit better. We're in the green now. And I push it down as far as I can, as far as the meter will go, we're still in a green. So right on the surface, it's drying out after a little more than 24 hours. But deeper down, it's retaining some moisture, and it's not too excessively wet. So that makes me happy. That means I think we're good on watering every other day, give or take. And seeds that I put in here should survive. But that's when I plant the seeds. And that is the goal, is ultimately to plant seeds. But I still need to deal with the stuff up above. I've got the 2-inch caps that are raising that up that little bit that I figured out I needed. And I've got to finish going all the way across the wall. So this morning's project is moving some of these pots over and starting to put in those 2-inch risers, caps, and then figuring out kind of what I've got behind there. I'm starting to formulate a plan for how I'm going to build the next level of the wall. I need to basically have that plan in place whether I build it or not, so I do things according to that plan. So I'm going to do a little bit of work here, and we'll come back and I'll give you an update. So it's a bit later. I've just finished lunch. It's almost 1 o'clock. And this is where I am. I've excavated out. I've kind of decided how far back I want to excavate. Leaves me just enough room to fit the 4x4 wall in behind. It's going to be a little hard to... basically, we've got this wall here and the stepping stones behind it, and so if I could fit a wall right behind that, that kind of lines up with what I've got over there. Yeah, okay, I've got that there, but I haven't excavated as far back right here behind the alcove. I'll figure that out. I'm trying to decide if I want to go all the way across, or just make it two separate walls, so that may be different right there. I might go further back on that side, but the other thing on this side is I've kind of hit at that level in height, going bottom to top there. I've hit the hill itself, the actual rock of the mountain, and so that's kind of a convenient place to lay down the actual lumber, would be right on that rock. I haven't exactly decided on the design, but I wanted to excavate out and back here. I'm going to probably cut out those roots, but I want to excavate back behind this wall enough that I can create a planting bed back here. So that's what I'm working on, and nearing critical area, getting critically full on all the supplies. I want to dig down far enough. I'm going to bury some of the rocks for drainage, and then put the soil on top of that, and hopefully have good enough depth of the soil in order to have a planting bed. So that's the thinking. That's what I'm going to keep working on. Here we are on top now for a little different perspective. And a better perspective, so you can kind of see what I did. I've excavated down that far. I've revealed the pipe that much more. I cut back a bunch of roots. I'm afraid that's probably for this particular tree, but I don't think we're going to go too much further than one more wall this year, so hopefully that much root will recover in the next year. It's still got the stake sticking out of the ground. I'm going to leave that for now, I think. But next step, I'm going to put some gravel in. I've got to be a little bit careful. I'm not going to have a huge planting bed back here, but I do know that I packed the soil in behind the wall, so that's already pretty much the filtered soil, the sifted soil. So I'm going to throw in some large rocks and then some small rocks. I've got overflow on the soil and on the crushed gravel, crushed stone, whatever. Yeah, let me just get it going and we'll see what it ends up looking like. It's not lost on me that this might just look like a cleaner version of where it started, but believe me, I mean, I've tried to level it. It's still not quite there. I did not backfill all the way because ultimately I'm going to pick up and move in that direction. So there's no point in just completely filling it in, only to kind of undo part of it. So that's where it is at the end of the day. Until the next one. Good Monday morning to you. This is where we left off yesterday, and while I felt fine after I finished, my arms were on fire last night. After resting for a little bit after all the work I did, I overdid it. So, today a little bit of a change of plan. I still have a soil management issue to deal with. Let's take a look at, I've still got some of that, but really I've got 3 bins for soil here. I got one that's full. I've got one that's about a third full. And I've got another one that is quite full, packed down. So really what's happening here is bit by bit it's building up. Remember yesterday when I started, this was completely empty and there was a little bit of room in the next one, so I've probably added about a half a bin just doing a quarter of the area behind the wall here. Now, upper planting bed, whatever you want to call it, I can see that some of it's already excavated out here just from previous efforts, so I'm probably not going to generate a half on each one, but I can't fit more than a half extra into that bin over there, and I can only add so much into extra buckets and what have you. So I'm kind of at a point where I'm either going to have to start piling it on the ground or some extreme measure. So I've been thinking I'm going to take a break from this kind of digging today. I got a couple other things I need to deal with, but in terms of the soil management, the soil itself, there's two places I can put it. One of them is back here. It's up on the hill. I don't know how well you'll be able to see, but there's some significant bare spots up there where the soil has come down. That might also require some degree of retaining. I don't know how exactly we would maintain it up there. But also I've got to clear out the soil around the fence and the weeds. That's a whole other project. And so what I'm thinking of, if I wanted to put soil up there, really what I need to do, because carrying a bucket up there is perilous. Trying to get up the hill if there's no steps. So I need to build some kind of steps, either on one side or the other of the fence here, or clear over at the other end, where ultimately I'm going to have gravel pads going up the hill with the rest of the terracing. I can build those steps. I can get up to, there is a plateau just beneath the bushes there. And I actually need to cut out some of the deadness in the bushes. But rather than doing that, the other option is to take the extra soil and put it out on the front lawn. So let's head out there and see what I'm thinking about here. There is ultimately an area over here where the grass just doesn't seem to grow. And the last time I went through the sprinklers to make sure they were all functioning, I realized not a lot of water is getting right here. And so even if I build it up, even if I build up the soil, it's probably not going to grow all that well. So what I was looking at is at the end of one zone, I've got this sprinkler head here. Basically there's that sprinkler head there, and there's another one standing up there, and those are 20 feet apart. If I put another sprinkler head halfway, to be right about here, let me see if I can turn around and give you the perspective on that. So kind of facing the bush there, and you can kind of see what that all looks like. So that's the thinking, is I'm going to actually tap off of, I could tap off of this sprinkler head, where'd it go? This one here, or I could tap off this riser here. The problem with tapping off this riser is I've got these roots from the pepper tree. They're going to get in the way, make digging really difficult. So I think I'm going to tap off of that one and put a 10-foot piece of PVC, come across and come back up. But in order to get the proper supplies to do all of this, the first thing I need to do is dig in here, figure out how far down and how tall a body that is for the pop-up, because if I'm going to add a T and another pipe running across, that's going to actually raise the whole thing up, and then it'll just keep getting hit by the lawnmower. Not a good thing. So I need to get a shorter body. I need to figure out how much shorter, but first I need to figure out how tall that body is, and I need to dig in here anyway. So that is what I'm going for today, is dealing with this sprinkler and then putting some of that soil back down and then fertilizing the lawn if I can get to it all in one day. Alright, I have cleared out a pathway. It looks like I've got a... Yeah, I think I've got a parts list. It's time to go shopping. Alright, well, they didn't have exactly what I needed, but I got the 10-foot piece of PVC. That'll work out. I got a sprinkler head which fell on the ground already, but part of the reason I'm saying that is this is a 3-way threaded T. I was hoping for a slip-on part where my thumb is right there, so that I could then basically mount it kind of like that, and then just have the pipe coming out of it and going that way. But no, so I had to get an adapter from threaded to slip, and that should take care of that. Got a couple of the closed nipples that should take care of that. and they didn't have the 3-inch, so I had to get the 2-inch, but I think that'll work out. It's even got the or I have in stock anyway, I have a piece I can put on there that will actually clear the line first, and then I can mount the actual head. So I'm going to do a little bit more digging just to make sure I can get that pipe all the way across without a problem, and then start attaching everything. Before I get too far ahead of myself, there's the original. I've kind of patched it up, and you can kind of see the orange tag there is, that's where the new one is. I've kind of backfilled a bit. It's a bit of a mess, but ultimately I'm going to drop a bunch of soil on here. I mean, this could probably stand to go down a little more, but I need to do before I commit to all of that, I need to actually make sure that it works. So let's go turn it on. Let's take a look. Go around the side where I don't get wet. Let's see these things pop on. Come on. I know you work. There you go. All right. So that one's pointing the wrong direction. I'm going to get a little bit wet. Ooh. And that one is functional. That's just a cap that's there to keep the whole thing from kind of collapsing on itself. So let me get these cleaned up and turned around, and we'll pick up from there. Okay, it fought me a bit. I finally ended up figuring out that the filter that was in that 2-inch riser was just not letting enough actual water in, and so none of the heads were working right. But I think I also had one that was just defective. I pulled it out of something and it wasn't working, and I just put it away instead of throwing it away. But this is a 4-footer, and I think that'll probably take care of it. If not, it's not that hard to switch them out. So the only thing is it's running unfiltered now, so it's going to have more of a tendency to clog. But now it's time to throw some soil on this and see if I can't level it out a bit. Honestly, I tried to do it with the rake, and it just wasn't working out, so I decided to follow what another guy, I forget exactly where I saw it. It was another YouTube channel, and a guy was talking about flattening your lawn, and he does it with sand, and he does it with what he calls a drag, which is kind of a device that he had built for himself. I ended up just using a 6-foot fence board, and it kind of did a nice job of leveling things off. At least I was able to see where I thought I had leveled it, that it wasn't actually level. So I think that's looking a little bit better. I mean, there's a lot of soil there to look at, but now I'm tired. Now I guess I put the fertilizer on and then pull out the hose and kind of gently spray down the lawn. Some of it's already wet from the work on the sprinkler, but that's what I'm gonna do. Sometimes you think something's gonna take you an hour or two, and then it takes you most of the day. That's it. We've been fertilized, we've been lightly watered to kind of water it in, and because some people decide they want to walk through that pathway, I put all my irrigation flags there. Hopefully that'll keep people from actually trampling over my nicely graded soil here. Well, we'll see. That's it for today. Until tomorrow. Good Tuesday morning to you. Today I think we're going to go ahead and work on this side. Originally I was thinking that I was going to come back to working on all of the upper planting bed starting on the other end, but seeing as yesterday I managed to get rid of a bunch of soil, but I've still got a ton of gravel and rocks to work with. I think what I'm going to do is right up here I'm going to build another gravel pad. I just have to think my way through the design, and I kind of have an idea how I'm going to do it. I need to test a couple of things out and then start pulling some of the vegetation and start digging. Also, I might be working on some tests today for figuring out how I'm going to pin the next level to the hill. This is down below is basically just the bottom of it, so putting the wall there just kind of works. But the next level up, I'm going to have to figure out how to kind of pin it into the hill, because any soil behind it pushing on it, I want to make sure that it doesn't push the wall over. So this wall basically works with just sheer weight. The next one's going to be 4x4s, which will be heavy, but maybe not as heavy. So things to figure out. I also want to see if I can actually, we have some used 6-packs, like 6-pack planting packs. So I'm going to see if I can't get some seeds planted just to germinate, because it's probably going to be a couple of more weeks before I'm actually done with all of the terracing for this year. And at some point I got to get up and deal with all the weeds and everything else, but one thing at a time. Let's get the gravel pad. Let's figure that thing out. Time for a quick after lunch update. Couple of things I've realized. Kind of new, but now I can kind of put into words, is basically the problem with building a whole terracing system from the bottom up is that as you tear stuff out on the top, you tend to make everything on the bottom dirty. And so I started digging down below to put in gravel pads and do a little bit of retaining and figure out what my design was going to be, only to realize that I was going to eventually have to dig up above too. So I just decided I've got to go ahead and excavate all of this out, just to be ready for whatever goes in up above. And at the same time, I was looking at it and I'm going, well, how far back do I need to dig? Because I don't want to dig only part way, only to mess everything up by having to dig back another few inches. So I ended up settling on the fact that, oh wow, it's starting to sprinkle. That's unexpected. I ended up deciding that from the leading edge of this wall to the leading edge of the new wall, the new block wall, is 33.5 inches. I need to get past the irrigation pipe there that runs another zone back here, and I just decided 33.5 kind of makes sense. But that also means if I'm going to put in 4x4s that are 4x4s are actually 3.5 by 3.5, so I need to add another 3.5 to that. So 33.5 plus 3.5, I'm going back to 37 inches. I'm probably going to have to do some correction back there where I already did some work, but hopefully that's just a matter of I'll pull back some of the fill that I put in there, and then I should be able to dig in there without doing too much damage to what I've already done. It also means I need to pull all the weeds and vegetation going back that far, but that's kind of the plan. Worst case scenario, I've gone too far back. If I realize that I've gone too far back, I can just put in the 4x4s, build the wall up to where I need to build it up, and then backfill behind it. So, except that probably some point next year, I'm going to be digging back behind that, and maybe we'll go another 33.5 inches. So that's kind of where I am. So this turned into not actually building the pads, but dealing with the excavation, getting all the dirt out that I need to get out, digging down far enough that I can actually put the gravel in, and probably at some point hitting the actual rock of the hill and having to deal with that experiment. I need to try drilling into that rock and see what happens. It tends to, when I hit it with the cultivator, just fracture really easily. But the question is, if I try and drill into it, will it kind of hold together well enough that I could then drive something into the hole that I've just drilled? And that would be the key to pinning. But one thing at a time. I got to finish excavating, and I've got almost filled up one of the bins already, and I've got overflow with the gravel. I'll deal with all that. Let's just keep going. Can you hear it? I think it's Mother Nature's way of telling me it's time to quit. I'm not even sure what time it is. It's probably after 3 o'clock. I got a good chunk of this done. I was almost finished. Then I heard thunder. And the little bit of rain that was coming down became a bit bigger. So I think this is it for today. There's really not that much to pick up. I had to kind of change plans anyway. I wasn't going to get done what I said I was going to do today because the digging was so much more than I thought it would be. I've now basically filled up 2 of those big tubs again. I've got some extra gravel down on that end in that white bucket, overflowing on both of those. I'm standing under cover right now as I record this, but yeah, well, sometimes you just gotta work with Mother Nature. Yeah, the plants are getting watered, and the sprinklers don't have to go off for that, so that's a positive. A lot more digging, like I said, than I thought, but that's it for today. We'll see what tomorrow brings. Good morning, gardening friends. It's Wednesday. Mother Nature did her thing. Now it's time for me to do my thing. There's a bunch of digging involved. There's some purchasing of the 4x4s, and there's some soil management stuff, but I'll basically take you along as I do it, and I'm going to start with just the 10 or so minutes that were left in digging this part out over here. Let me get that taken care of, and we'll be right back. It's been a few more than 10 minutes, but let me just sort of catch you up. So I dug that out. That was the key thing that I got stopped on yesterday, so that's done now. Then I went up and I picked some oranges off the tree. That doesn't really have much to do with anything. Then I was trying to deal with the whole soil issue. Now you can see I've got an empty bin because I've constructed my own thing here. So the garbage can that normally resides here will come back, but ultimately for now it's going to move over here with the other garbage can at the end of the day when I'm cleaning stuff up. So I've also moved a bunch of pots over because ultimately I need to now get up on the wall there, reach back, pull a ton of weeds, actually move a little bit more, and then start digging. I want to go a full 8 feet if I can. Hopefully there is enough room in that bin over there to handle the soil. And then I got to figure out also what to do with the gravel, but I kind of have a plan for that. Yeah, so that's kind of where we are, and let me just get going. Alright, it's about quitting time. I didn't quite finish. You can see I've carved out at the top just to kind of mark how far I'm going, and that's actually a little bit further than I need to go, but I don't want to be right on the edge. I want to have a little bit of room to move the 4x4. I've got most of the soil excavated to sort of that point there. I've had to create a new place for the soil, and I've also had to create a new place for the gravel, and that's kind of where all of that is. I don't think I want to go any further than what I've marked out, because then it's like, where do I just got to pile it in a driveway or what? I mean, so that's kind of where I am on all of this. The sprinkler is going to go off tomorrow morning, so I'm going to cover that with a piece of plastic and hope that that keeps it from getting too wet. The covers are back on the bins with the soil. You can see what that looks like. So that's where I am today, and this video is already long enough, so I think I'm going to wrap up the video for now. Until the next video, I'll pick up with continuing on up there. So thank you so much for watching. Take care of yourself, take care of the ones you love, and may your thumb be green.